All right, so you want to build cabinets, huh? Well, you've come to the right place.
We've got tons of info here, from like basic guides to design stuff. Perfect for anyone starting out.
Yeah. Like, think cabinet construction 101, but, you know, cooler.
We're going to go deeper, beyond just the how-to secrets for cabinets that are strong and stylish.
Right. So first off, you see cabinets everywhere, right?
Kitchens, bathrooms, workshops, they're everywhere you need to store stuff.
But, like, actually building one can seem scary, right?
Oh, yeah, especially for a new carpenter.
Definitely. So before we even, like, touch a saw, let's, like, figure out what a cabinet even is.
So basically, a cabinet's a storage unit, with a box structure.
Okay, so, like, more than just a box with shelves.
Right. There's a framework for shelves, drawers, all that, often with doors to keep things, neat.
Makes sense? Now, I was reading about different types of cabinets, face frame, frameless, even frame and panel. What's the difference?
Each one looks different and you build them differently too. Face frame, that's like the classic style, has a frame around the front opening.
Ah,
Makes it stronger, easier to adjust the doors and stuff. Then you got frameless. Those are all modern and sleek.
ooh, I like those.
Yeah, it gives you total access inside. And then there's frame and panel, basically a frame with a panel, set inside. Can get some cool, uneven surfaces with that.
Hmm, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I could see why someone starting out would be drawn to that style, making it all unique and stuff. But before we get too excited about looks, gotta think materials, right?
Oh, for sure.
Solid wood, plywood, MDF. I even saw stainless steel somewhere.
Yeah, a lot of choices.
How do you even choose? Especially if you're new to all this.
Well, it depends, right?
Yeah.
Budget, the look you want, what the cabinet's actually going to be USD for.
So, like, solid wood, gorgeous, but I bet it's expensive.
It is. Plywood's usually cheaper.
Right, and then there's MDF and particle board. Honestly, I don't really get the difference.
Let's break it down. Solid wood, yeah, beautiful, classic, but pricey, and it can warp if, the humidity changes a lot.
Ah, that's not good. No.
Plywood's more stable, made from thin layers of wood glued together. Good for beginners, easy to find and work with.
Okay, I'm liking plywood so far.
Then there's MDF, that's medium density fiberboard, super smooth, great for painting, but not as strong as plywood.
Got it.
And finally, the cheapest, particle board. Made from wood chips, but honestly, it's the least durable, not so good with moisture.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of potential disasters, I gotta confess, once tried building a bookshelf without, dry fitting first. Glue everywhere, pieces didn't line up. Total nightmare.
Yeah, the dry fit gets
Yeah.
easy to skip it, especially when you're excited to be done,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
But for a newbie, dry fitting is, essential.
So, like, why is it so important for someone just starting out with cabinets?
Imagine you've carefully cut everything, glued it all up, and then it doesn't fit. Dry fitting lets you put it together without glue, no fasteners. You see if it fits, if anything's off, before it's permanent.
Ah, makes sense. Like that saying, measure twice, cut once, but for the whole thing.
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
Avoid those moments that make you want to quit.
Okay, dry fitting, check. Now, onto the cabinet itself, the case, right? It's like the skeleton.
Yeah, the foundation. Usually you've got a top, bottom, sides, back panel, inside, shelves, maybe dividers.
Right, now what about the plinth? I saw that in the sources. What even is that?
Oh, the plinth. It's that little, recessed base at the bottom. You might not think it matters, but it gives you toe clearance.
Ah, so you don't stub your toe.
Exactly. Makes the cabinet more comfortable to use. Small detail, big difference.
Nice. So we got our pieces. How do they actually go together? They mentioned all these joints, dados, rabbets. Kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, joinery is important, but don't get scared by the words. A joint's just how two pieces connect. Starting out, focus on butt joints and dowel joints.
Okay, let's start with butt joints. What's that?
Simplest one. One piece butts up against another, connecting the top and bottom to the sides. Easy to cut, easy to put together.
Got it. And dowel joints, those reinforced things, right?
Right. Yep. You drill holes in both pieces, stick in these little wooden dowels, glue them in, makes the joint stronger, less likely to break apart.
So I could use a butt joint for the main panels and then add dowels for extra strength.
Exactly. Common way to do it, especially starting out. Simple but strong, and even pros use these basic joints.
Cool. So we built our basic cabinet. Now it gets interesting, right? Framed versus frameless. How are they different to actually build?
Framed cabinets, remember, they have that face frame around the front. Adds strength and you can adjust the doors easier. Frameless, no frame, all modern. Total access, but trickier to install.
And I remember reading about racking. Something to watch out for, especially with frameless. What is that?
Racking is when the cabinet, like, twists out of shape, maybe from the weight of stuff inside or humidity. Frameless cabinets are more prone to it because they don't have that frame for support.
Yikes. Okay, so how do you prevent that? Especially if you're doing frameless.
Simple trick. Pay attention to the wood grain on the sides. Make sure it runs vertically. That makes it stronger, less likely to rack.
Ah, clever. Didn't realize wood grain mattered that much.
Oh, it does. It's all about understanding how wood works, how it acts under pressure, moisture, all that. Important stuff for any woodworker.
All right, good to know. Now, the stars of the show. Doors and drawers.
Yeah, those are fun.
But before we get there, the sources were all about planning their size before you finish the cabinet case. Why is that?
Imagine this. You build this beautiful cabinet, and then the drawers don't fit because you forgot about the slides. Or the door swings open and hits the wall. Planning prevents those headaches.
Oh yeah, I can see that being a problem. So how do you avoid that? Especially if you're new to this.
First, decide what kind of doors and drawers you want, how big. Then, pick your hardware, like hinges and slides. Measure everything carefully and use those measurements when you design the cabinet case. That way, everything fits perfectly.
Got it. So work backwards, basically.
Yep. Now, about those doors and drawers, you got flush, overlay, lip edge. Want to see some pictures? I think we have some in the cabinetimage.pdf.
Ooh, yeah. Visuals always help.
Okay, so flush doors and drawers, they sit flush with the cabinet face, all sleek and modern. Overlay styles, they overlap the cabinet face, different amounts, add some visual interest.
Okay, seeing the difference now. Full overlay covers the whole face frame. Standard overlay shows some of it. And then lip edge, that little extra lip around the drawer.
Exactly. Each one gives you a different look, depends what you're going for. Now, before we get into building them, there's this cool thing called the 32mm system. I think our newbies should know about it.
32mm system. Sounds technical. What is it?
It's a game changer, especially for DIY. Basically, it's a bunch of holes, all spaced 32mm apart. You use them to put in hardware, adjust shelves. Makes the whole building process way easier.
So like built-in guides for everything.
Yep. And you see it a lot in RTA cabinets, those ready-to-assemble ones. Flat-packed, easy to put together. Good option if you're starting out, want to save some money.
Wow. So much thought goes into all this. It's not just wood and nails. It's like a whole system.
That's right. The 32mm system shows how, clever design makes woodworking easier for everyone, even if you're just starting out. Makes things easier, right? Speaking of which, more about materials. We kind of skimmed over some stuff like plywood grades.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. What's the deal with those?
So plywood's made of layers, right? Those thin sheets of wood, that's the veneer. The grade tells you how good that veneer is.
Okay, so higher grade means better wood.
Basically, yeah. Fewer knots, imperfections, all that. Good for surfaces you'll see, like cabinet doors, the sides.
So if I'm painting the doors, I can use, cheaper plywood for the box itself.
Exactly. Save some money there. But for the doors, yeah, higher grade will give you a smoother finish for the paint.
Got it. What about solid wood, though? Is that even something a beginner should try?
You can, but gotta be careful. Pick a stable wood, like maple or cherry. And, important thing, acclimate the wood before you use it.
Acclimate? What's that mean?
Wood's natural, right. It reacts to temperature, humidity. Acclimating means letting it sit in your workshop for a few days. Gets used to the moisture in the air.
So it doesn't warp after you build the cabinet.
Exactly. And with solid wood, you got to think about wood movement too.
Uh-oh. That sounds tricky.
It's just how wood expands and contracts, mostly across the grain, not along it. Got to factor that in, especially for doors and drawer fronts.
So even after you build it, the wood's still kind of moving.
In a way, yeah. You can use special joints, like slotted screw holes, to let it move without messing up the cabinet.
Wow. Who knew wood was so complicated? Okay, what about those other materials? Stainless steel, laminate, all that. When would you use those?
They each have their place. Stainless steel, super durable, good for wet areas, like commercial kitchens or if you spill stuff a lot.
Right. Gives it that industrial look, too. What about laminate? I feel like that's everywhere.
Laminate's great, affordable, and you can get tons of colors, patterns. It's basically a thin layer of plastic or paper glued onto something like particle board.
So good if you're on a budget or want a specific look you can't get with wood.
Yep. Then there's melamine, similar to laminate, but usually it's fused on during manufacturing. Durable, good with moisture, easy to clean, good for cabinet boxes.
So already finished.
Pretty much. And thermofoil, that's popular for doors. Vinyl film, applied with heat and pressure, Smooth, durable, lots of choices. Easy to work with, too.
Okay, starting to get a headache with all these options. How do you pick?
Think about your budget, the look you want, what the cabinet's going to be used for, and don't be afraid to ask for help at the store.
Good advice. Materials. Check. Now, back to building. We did those basic joints, but the sources had a ton of other techniques. Gotta know them all.
Nah, starting out, the basics are enough. But joints, dowel joints, maybe some screws or nails for extra strength. Once you're comfortable, then explore the fancy stuff.
Like walk before you run.
Exactly. And even the most complex cabinets, it's all based on those same basic ideas.
That's reassuring. So cabinets built, materials chosen. What's next?
The fun part, doors and drawers. This is where those overlays come in.
Right, overlays. We saw pictures, but remind me, what are they again?
How much the door or drawer overlaps the cabinet face. Full overlay covers the whole thing. Sleek look. Standard shows some of the face frame. Insets it's flush, takes more precision.
And what about the reveal? Well, still not sure I get that.
The reveal's that little gap between the door drawer and the cabinet face. Design element can be bigger or smaller, depends on the look you want.
So it's on purpose, like adds to the style.
Yeah, and lets you fudge the alignment a bit if you need to. But yeah, the reveal size changes the whole look.
Got it. Gotta admit, putting on doors and drawers always seems scary. Any tips for a beginner?
Good hardware is key. Hinges, drawer slides, the good stuff makes it so much easier. And measure twice, cut once, right, get it aligned right. Shims can help too.
Shims, what are those?
Little pieces of wood or plastic. Use them to adjust the spacing, get things level. Lifesaver for fine-tuning.
Okay, adding those to my shopping list. What about tools in general? Need a fancy workshop for all this.
Nah, you can do a lot with the basics. Circular saw, jigsaw, drill, some clamps. As you get better, you can add more tools.
Phew, good to know. So cabinets done, doors and drawers on. What's the last step?
The grand finale, finishing. This is where you get to be artistic, make it your own.
Ooh, I like that, like adding the sprinkles on a cupcake.
Exactly. And for finishes, so many choices. Paints, stains, varnishes, you name it. Whatever look you want.
All right, we talked about paint. Lots of colors, but hides the wood grain. So good for a modern look, or if you don't love the wood itself.
Yep. Makes a statement with color.
What about milk paint? What even eye is that?
Oh, it's old school, been around forever. Made with natural stuff like milk protein, lime, pigments. Gives you that rustic, kind of old-timey look.
Sounds cool, very natural. What about stain then? That shows off the wood, right?
Yeah, stain soaks in, brings out the grain, adds some color too. Makes the wood look rich, warm.
And tons of stain colors, right? Light, dark, all sorts.
Yep, depends what vibe you're going for. Now, varnish, that's protection. You put it on over the paint or stain.
So it lasts longer.
Exactly. More durable, protects from moisture. And you can get different sheens, matte to super shiny, whatever you like.
So varnish is like the top coat. What about lacquer then? Same thing.
Kinda, but lacquer's tougher, more water resistant, good for that really shiny look. But it's harder to apply, dries super fast. Might be better to let a pro handle that.
Got it. And then there's glaze. What's that for?
Yeah. Glaze adds depth, makes things look more interesting. You put it on over paint or stain, then wipes them off so it stows in the little details.
Like highlights and shadows.
Yep. Makes the cabinets look fancier, maybe a bit older, antiqued.
Okay, so we got our materials.
Mm-hmm.
But what about actually doing the finishing? They said the process changes depending what you use.
Oh, yeah, the process is super important. Sanding, prepping the wood, then all the coats of paint, stain, whatever. Got to do it right, or it won't look good, won't last.
And they said to pick a finish that, like, matches the cabinet and how you'll use it.
Right. Think about how tough it needs to be, how often you'll clean it. Kitchen cabinets got to handle spills, all that.
Yeah. Wouldn't want something delicate that gets ruined easily.
Exactly. And of course, got to match your style, too. Super shiny and modern, or more rustic and matte. Lots of choices.
Man, this is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Any advice for someone just starting out with all this finishing stuff?
Pick a finish that makes sense for the project, how you'll use it, the look you want. And like we said, don't be afraid to ask for help.
I gotta say, I'm kind of blown away by all this. Cabinets are like a whole world of their own.
It really is a blend of art and, actual skill.
And the cool thing is, anyone can learn it. Like with woodworking, you get to make something beautiful. And it's useful.
That's it. And with cabinets, it's not just furniture. It's part of a home,
Right. Cabinets are everywhere, but we never really think about them.
We don't. But when you learn how they're made, the materials, the joints, all that, you see them differently.
I do. This deep dive has been like information overload. But the main thing I'm getting is cabinet making is a journey.
It is, for sure. You keep learning, trying new stuff, finding your own style.
And, like, there's no shortcuts. It
Right.
takes time,
Yeah.
you mess up, but every project you finish, you get better.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to, ask for help, look for inspiration. There's a whole community of woodworkers out there.
Online, in person, everyone's sharing what they know. It's cool. Like, we're all in this together.
That's right. So I think that about wraps up our cabinet deep dive.
I'm kind of itching to build something now. Hopefully our listeners are too. Doesn't matter if you're a pro or just starting, there's always something new to learn with cabinets.
That's the truth. So go build something awesome and have fun doing it.
Best advice ever? Thanks for listening, everyone, and happy woodworking.